Good morning and welcome to the Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Are you aware that the colors you see are the colors that you perceive them to be, and they can be different? For example, in England, there was no word for the color orange till about 300 years back. As a matter of fact, they used to call it yellow red. And yellow red was, when mixed, became orange. So they had no word for orange. It is only when the oranges reached the markets in Europe, about 250 years back, the first oranges were sold, the word orange came into being. Till that time, there was no word orange. And same is that there in other languages. Many ancient languages like Greek, Chinese, Hebrew, Japanese don't have a word for blue, the blue color. And do you know the Russian speakers even today divide blue in two distinct categories? There are two different words. It is either light blue or dark blue, but never blue. In Russian, it's either siniki, the word is used siniki, which is dark blue, or goluboy, which is light blue. So imagine a person from another part of the world goes over there and will use the word just blue, and nobody would understand it. So these words don't simply reflect what we see, but multiple experiments conducted by psychologists have suggested that they influence our perception. Our perception changes under the impact of the language that we speak. And not the second language, third language, but the native language. That is important. For example, you'll be amazed that in one of the researches, a group of people from different nationalities was taken, 103 people from about 18 nationalities, and they were shown a rapid series of shapes and were told to look out for a gray semicircle. This semicircle appeared alongside a triangle in different shades of blue and green. And the report participants, 103 of them reported that they saw a complete triangle, a slight or a strong impression of the shape, or it didn't see at all. So depending on whether it was a blue shade or a green shade, their perception even of the shape of the object, that is a triangle and semicircle, changed. And as I told you, many of them failed to even notice that there was a semicircle. It has been found that the Greek and the Russian speakers who have dedicated words of the light blue and the dark blue are more likely to see a light blue triangle against a dark blue background and vice versa. But they will not identify, rather they'll fail to identify green triangles against green backgrounds. They'll simply merge. And that is because while they can differentiate in the different shades, subtle nuances of the colors, which are blue, they cannot do so, which are green. Speakers of the German language are no better at seeing the shades of the blue triangle on green. I mean, say you mixed blue on the green, and they will not be able to appreciate it. The Russian speakers distinguish between shades of blue faster than the English speakers. The Greek speakers start to see all shades of blue as similar after living in UK for a long time. So the impact of the second language starts having a real impact after second or third generation. The idea that the language reality is a certain hypothesis which in German we call Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. And the ongoing debate is that it applies to all. Perhaps a few universal categories of color are seen and perceived the same way all over the world. But the linguists have identified 11 basic color terms in English, which is indivisible without being a shade of other color. Black, white, gray, red, blue, yellow, pink, orange, purple, brown. But people for a long time could not understand an orange sunset, as I said, so they call it the yellow-red sunset. So the language you speak impacts your perception of the color. And that's why, many people who come from the different countries might be colorblind when they come to another country. They might not see orange the way orange is perceived. And they may not see the blue or the green. The green is the word go. And they confuse it with the blue. And the red is confused with the orange. And that is why it is imperative that the color perceptions are understood the way they are. This is important from another point of view, and that is just safety. Because the colors denote your capability and your perception in recognition. They are also associated. Red is for danger. Green is for go ahead. White is for peace. But if you don't perceive the colors as they are, then there can be confusion. And the confusion can be worse confounded. But then this is a way that we adjust in the other words, in other cultures, in other civilizations. And now let's come to the development in technology. The police officers in Shanghai and Beijing have started using a new technology. And this new technology is called the gate technology. G-A-I-T, gate. The technology that recognizes a person from the way he walks. And now they identify a person based on the shape of the body and how they walk. They may not be able to perceive the man, but a person is at a long, far away distance, and the way he is shuffling wrong or galloping, they'll recognize the person. The software was developed recently in Beijing-based company Veterans. And this can identify an individual up to 65 feet away by analyzing the movement of his shadow even. They don't have to see the person. The shadow of the person, the way it's moving, can help them recognize the person. And basically, this is the way they are going to have a surveillance. They don't see you, but the shadow is seen, and they identify a person. And it embraces security technology like facial recognition. Till now, we used to talk about biometrics, your iris scan, your fingerprints. So all those technologies are now being enhanced further. And they are being enhanced for recognition. And this can be quite cumbersome for the evildoers, for the terrorists, for the criminals, because the way they walk along, and even if they are not seen, their gait, their mode of walking can give them away. And now China has decided that by the year 2020, they are going to install 300 million cameras. 300 million cameras, and those cameras would only watch the shadows the silhouettes of the people walking, and from there they'll recognize the person, who the person is, and as a matter of fact, they're saying that they will be able to even identify the motive for the way he walks. The same person can shuffle along, can walk straight, can run, can trot, so they want to identify from that shape of that shadow moving and exactly pinpoint the person concerned. So this is a new advance in technology for recognition. And then we say that human brain cannot be replicated. There is no computer which can supersede the capability of a human brain, provided it's properly used. And now the University of Manchester in England has developed an artificial brain, which is the biggest brain ever made. Artificial, but the biggest. Biggest in the sense that it has much more capability than the human brain has, and much more capability than any supercomputer can have. According to the university release, this is called neuromorphic computer. Neuromorphic refers to the neurons in the brain which has been used for this purpose. And it is designed to function exactly like a human brain. So this neuromorphic computer has been given a name, which is SPICNAKER. SPICNAKER is Spiking Neural Network Architecture. And now look at the capability. It has 1 million processing cores, 1 million, and 1200 circuit boards. And it can simultaneously perform 200 quadrillion actions, 200 quadrillion. 1,000 trillion is 1 quadrillion. So 1,000 billion is 1 trillion. And 1,000 trillion is 1 quadrillion. And this brain can function simultaneously, can undertake 200 quadrillion actions. Such a computer can function as a real-time model for the brain. And the basic benefit would be, apart from the processing, it will enable medical researchers to research potential treatment for neurological disorders like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and so on, schizophrenia. The list is endless. So this is a new development which has a lot of capability to enable people and have a further better life, much better than one can hope for. So these technologies, basically, we discussed today, these advances in the knowledge are a symptom of, or a symbol, I'll call it, of the capability of human minds to keep going. As I put in my thought yesterday, keep on going, what the Bengalis will call ekla chalore. And this capacity to keep going is basically reflected in Ulysses, to strive, to find, to seek, and not to yield. Human ingenuity, human brain would never yield except defeat. And that is why these frontiers of knowledge keep on expanding every day. And the purpose of this segment is to keep you aware of the ever-widening frontiers of knowledge. Thank you.